Three of my really dear friends and I came up with this crazy idea in the fall of 2011 to start a nonprofit that taught sustainable agriculture and taught kids how to grow their own food, because there is a big epidemic of children not knowing where their food comes from, not knowing about eating healthy food. We got this bus and we completely retrofitted it so that it would be fully sustainable. We wanted to not only teach kids about how you could grow your food sustainably, but how you could live sustainably. So we made a greenhouse in the back of our bus. We separated it into 3 sections. We made it a living space, an office space, and then the back of it is a greenhouse. So we wanted that to be a teaching garden where we could show kids from seed to fruit the stages of growing a plant. And the downside of having a greenhouse in your bus and having a bottom bunk is that when you drive, all the dirt goes into your bed, like mine. Baltimore was our first urban build. It worked out really well. It was a vacant lot that they were going to turn into a garden, but they wanted to get interest while they were trying to get funding. So we did what's called a pop-up garden, which is a very temporary thing. And we literally put these beds on top of a concrete pad. We started the project, it was just us and like a few other people that said they were gonna be there. And while we were working, a big group of kids walked by and we were like, hey, you wanna help out? And for some reason, they thought it'd be a cool thing to do. And we got like 6 boys coming home from school to pitch in and build a garden with us, which was really cool. And we actually experienced that a lot on our trip. Veggie Power, we ran our bus on French fry grease. And the first time we got to use it finally was going up the East Coast towards Maine. This is the family that we kind of created while we were in Detroit. We worked with a community garden in an older neighborhood. We were recorded on a TV show. The show Growing a Greener World, which airs on PBS. They recorded parts of our journey and asked us questions and did an entire episode, which you can watch online if you want to. The Arizona cowboy, like right after we met him and went back to our bus, I started drawing him because it was such a visual experience for me, watching this guy play the guitar and his like really intense personality, really fiery personality just had this kind of lasting effect on me. I realized one thing that was really difficult for me on the trip is the first half, I didn't do any drawing or sketching or anything. And this was coming right out of my senior year where all I was doing every day was working on art. And I got really depressed. And then I was like, what is wrong? Like, why am I so upset? And I realized I wasn't doing anything creative. I wasn't drawing or anything like that. So that's when I started actually keeping a sketchbook of drawing. We would drive for hours. And so instead of just sitting there staring out the window, I started drawing. And that's where I started to get a lot of ideas for these images. Everything is hand done except for the final piece. So I create these in completely separate pieces. So like this is his shirt that I did in watercolor and then scanned it in as a piece. And then all of the drawing is its own separate piece. I usually do like the full sketch to lay it out and then go in and do my line work. And then through Photoshop, so this is like the original drawing. And then I have the sketch lines so I know where to put all the pieces. But then I also have this beautiful folder called Textures of all these hand-done textures that I have made by painting different things, stamping them on paper, scribbling, splattering. These are weird science pictures that I take. And I manipulate them in Photoshop so I get this texture that I really like. And then I lay things together in all these different layers. I mean, I don't know how many people have been on Photoshop, but I have tons of layers in all of my pieces so that they're very texturized. I want there to be depth to it, not really like in the pictorial sense of like perspective, but depth in terms of like many layers of textures and lines and whatnot. And then in the end, the look that I'm going for is screen printing, which is why a lot of people think that they're screen prints, but they are not. All of these are digital prints, which means I have a really nice printer and I print them out. So yeah, if that makes sense, that's my process.